All right, so Manjummel Boys, there is a lot to talk about this movie. So this movie is directed by Chidambaram. I believe it's just his second movie. First or second, I haven't seen his first movie, but I must say, wonderful director, such an intelligent chap. Even the trailers indicated to me that, you know what, this is going to be something special. It is based off a true story, as most of you know if you've seen the trailer. But like I said, the way they shot the scenes, the storytelling is what really captured my attention. And no surprise, look at the people behind this movie. And I'm glad that the trailers actually called out their names, be it Shaiju Khalid for his DOP, music by Sushin. We all know how awesome he is, barring the controversy around his copying and things like that. I still think in terms of background music, there's probably none better in India, I would say, than Sushin in terms of the way he constructs his music, the quality to it, the way he just fills out every scene with his music without overpowering it. He really nails it as far as the story is concerned, editing and art direction. So this is done by an extremely talented team. So hats off to them, and also produced by Soubin, who's also acting in it, and you have other more recognizable actors like Srinath Basi as well. The others, again, they form a collective. Now, one thing I must really appreciate about this movie as I watched it is how the director is confident enough to say that, you know what, this is a real life story. He knows the group of people, the Manjummel Boys, that went through this event. In fact, they did a documentary which is going to come out about the real people, and so they got the story, and even the real people say, you know what, 96% of what you see on the screen is true, which means the director and his team has said, you know what, let's tell the story as accurately as possible, because this is a good enough story to translate. If we tell it well, if we tell it respectfully, the audience will recognize it, right? The quality of that storytelling, the respect that you give to the real characters and their experiences is enough to translate and connect with the audience. And did they do the job? Absolutely. I'm sure all of you are looking at rave reviews for this movie, and I have nothing more to say than it is excellently crafted, immaculately depicted on the screen. And one thing, again, like I said, I appreciate is the fact that they didn't add any masala to the story. They didn't unnecessarily go into individual lives and add a twist or, a romantic angle to it, or added a whole bunch of unnecessary music or songs to it just to make it palatable to the audience. Because I think they felt like the story, the spirit of the story, the spirit of this group is more than enough to make this a hit, and it absolutely is. They knocked it out of the park. In terms of performances, again, everyone did a phenomenal job, but what I would say is that the actors were able to capture the energy of the real Manjummel Boys. If you've seen the interview like I did of the real Manjummel Boys, you know that even at this age, they're a loud bunch, they're chaotic, but they're awesome together, right? They have this energy about them. And I think the actors were able to capture both the essence and the energy of that group. And so hats off to the casting director, who did a pretty good job, although not everyone looks exactly like the real people, but I think they went more for the personality, right? Rather than the looks being exactly the same. And I think that's a great choice at the end of the day, because the audience, I can tell, even for me, as I was watching it with 100 plus people in that theater, everyone seemed really hooked to the story, to the point of again, I'm going to go into a little bit of spoilers here, but to the point of the rescue. Everyone clapped. I felt like standing up and applauding, and that's how well they crafted this story. The first hour is a lot of setup, but I think it was important because you got attached to this gang, you knew what they're about. They're not about individuals, right? They didn't go into individual backstory too much, but collectively they formed this friendship and brotherhood. Now, the themes of this movie that I really appreciate is just that. I think more than being a survival movie, even the director said it's not necessarily meant to be a survival thriller like 127. This is more about friendship, right? And friendship that goes beyond, or brotherhood that goes beyond blood. And I think the songs depicting that in the lyrics, you can also see it on screen. It's also about relying on people that you might otherwise discount. And that's the brilliance of this director, where he shows that scene of one, you'll see Subhash's character in the start saying, okay, I can't rely on my younger brother to take care of my mother. Are you crazy, right? When someone suggests that he leaves his mother with his younger brother, that's his response. And then towards the very end, you'll see that Subhash stumbles. I mean, he's basically taken care of by his brother in the hospital, and so he is trying to get up on his own and go to the bathroom, and he falls over. Number one, it shows that he's the kind of character that likes to rely on his own, or at least he doesn't depend definitely on his younger brother. But when he fell down, I don't know how many of you, if you've seen the movie, you notice then you see his younger brother wakes up and looks for him, right? Even this group, Manjummel Boys, or the club, they're not really respected in society or seen as the sophisticated group. They're probably even seen as troublemakers, and they tend to lose a lot. They're the underdogs often, but you can see them come out on top at a point of crisis when one of them went down to this hole. You can see their spirit, their strength. They've forgotten everything else, and they also forgot the myth behind it. And I think the theme of what is God, and that is Subhash asking the driver, what is God? And Subhash is ultimately the one that goes down the hole, and the question of, the driver says, well, isn't God a light that you see above? And Subhash says, well, it's night right now, there's no light. And he sort of rubbishes that away. I think the movie plays with the theme of what is God to you, right? Is God a myth? Like a lot of the local people believe that, this is devil's kitchen and there's nothing we humans can do about it, or God is abstract to them. Whereas to these friends, in their moment of trouble, they only had each other. In some ways, you can always see the shot of Subhash looking up, and there's light above the cave, and it's him and his friends, right? And so I think that's beautiful to see. A lot of shots with him just standing at the edge, and he's almost watching himself. I think the director puts that question across of, are we God, right? By our choices, by our heroic actions, can we be God to someone else? Or maybe God is using us. There's multiple ways to look at it. And I think it's interesting that the person or the character who asks the question of what is God, at the very end, after he's rescued, there's a couple of locals who come and worship him because they feel he is God, because he went down this hole that no one else has come out of, and so he must be God, right? So the myth, is God abstract, or do we just have each other? Is it a triumph of human spirit, human friendship, or human strength at the end of the day that comes out, that beats adversity, that rises to the occasion? So I loved those themes in the movie, and once again, absolutely I would recommend this movie.